So Joe, as CEO of the National Equity Fund, the workplace evolutionaries have heard about your case study, but we want to hear firsthand from the CEO how the work environment has supported your organizational business goals. Can you share with us the impact and what you've done at National Equity Fund to leverage the workplace as that strategic asset?
Well, I think we need to go back to 2000 when I started. I actually started at NEF in May 15th of 2000, and when I walked into the office, I soon realized that NEF had some very serious issues financially. And the other thing I noticed is that our office, the way it was set up, we had hardwall offices all along the windows, and there was no windows looking into their offices. And I would go to visit somebody, the door would be closed, and I said, oh, wait, I'll go back later. And the other thing I noticed about NEF is that there was no communication going on. So we were trying to get out of this hole. At the end of the day, I knew we had to change culture at NEF. We had to figure out how we communicated better. And we made the bold move the next year to say, let's go look at space and get a new office, which was a difficult choice because we didn't have a lot of money. But I felt the only way that we're going to make this change is that we had to go bold and we had to go ahead and move forward with this. So that's what we did. So Gayleen Domer's job was to go out and find space and to figure out how to configure it. So we finally found the space, and she came to me and says, I'm taking you to McCormick's place, and I'm going to show you a new type of office. And I'm going, okay, because that's how Gayleen is. And so we ended up going and looking at this Herman Miller furniture called Resolve. And I look at it and I go, no, this isn't going to work, Gayleen. It's not going to work. And she said, all right, I'll look at some other spaces. And then finally, she's smart enough to come to me and say, Joe, if you want Office A, the plain old office that you're used to seeing, here's how much it's going to cost. Let's look at the new type of office with Resolve and say, and I realized it costs a lot less to have the Herman Miller furniture. And I said, okay, I probably have to go with this, but how am I going to convince our people to do this? Important people you have to convince with your senior staff. So Gayleen had the great idea of getting us into a bus and driving over an hour and a half to Michigan to look at Herman Miller's factory, and they had a complete setup of the Resolve. And when I walked in there, I realized, man, this could work. Senior staff wasn't quite convinced, but the smartest thing we did is on the bus ride back that we had beer and wine in the bus, and by the time we ended up at that office, they were all convinced that we should move forward with it. So that's what we did, and it was really an interesting thing is we kept a lot of it quiet. People had a lot of buzz about it. I wanted people to realize we're changing culture, number one, and we're going into a new space that you'll be proud of. And so when that happened, I could see the transformation literally happen as we were moving in. People were walking around, they're talking to people. We were at the old space, we were on 2 floors, and one person came up to another person and said, do you work here? And she goes, yeah, I've been working here for 5 years. Oh, I didn't know that. So just from that instance, that was a huge thing. More importantly, what I started seeing is that people were bringing their parents in to see their office. That would have never happened at the old NEF.
That's always a good sign. So just to ensure that our viewers today understand is that you saw and you recognized that you needed a shift in the business, and you saw that the physical place could become that billboard for change that could impact some of the culture. And that also the cost component of it, and looking at from a real estate perspective, if you were to open it up, it could reduce the amount of real estate that you needed.
It did a couple of things. First of all, it saved us a lot of money. Secondly, and it's really important that everyone owns the windows in our office. Okay? Daylight. We actually, the space we have now, all along the windows is pretty much open, so everybody owns the windows, and I think that's extremely important.
Oh, it is. We've got research to back that up.
Oh, you do? Okay.
The other thing I heard you say is just the fact that you wanted to have the space help people connect with each other and to collaborate.
That happened immediately. I mean, I pointed out the situation where one of the folks came in and they said, I didn't know you worked here. And then and those folks now communicate. We have a big center place where people can eat together. It's made a big, huge difference.
How were you able to get those that were in private offices and felt that they kind of deserved having a private office on board into an open environment?
That's easy. The fact that I was taking my own cubicle or module, whatever you want to call it, they had little say in demanding that they needed a hardware
Mm-hmm.
offices. The biggest group that we had problems with was the lawyers that kept saying we
Yeah.
need private space, and I kept saying that we're going to have a lot of conference rooms, which we did,
Mm-hmm.
and that they got over it.
So you helped them understand they could still concentrate and collaborate with privacy.
I just said they
Just
didn't have a
different
choice.
Leadership from the top.
That's
We
right.
love that.
That's right.
So you're in an open environment
Right.
yourself. What have you found is working for you?
Well, what it meant is like, you know, it's amazing how quiet the office is, but it's also amazing that you pick up different things. And for me, I sit right in front of our chief risk officer, so I can see when she's having an issue with something, and I can walk over and say, I'm okay with that. Or I could be walking by someone, and I could say, oh, you know what, I just got a call from someone, and they want you to bid on that deal. It's just, immediately you're so much easier to communicate.
So it speeds up business.
Speeds up business. It has a huge impact on our business.
Well, now tell me, I know that you also implemented a work from home program simultaneously, or actually probably before you moved into this space,
Right, our newest space.
your newest space. How has that level of flexibility helped you attract and retain talent?
Well, first of all, if you can understand that when I first moved to Chicago, I lived in Naperville, and I had literally an hour commute each way. And sometimes it was an hour and a half, and if the train was late, it's 2 hours. And I realized the impact that commuting has on people. And some of our folks live even further away. So we wanted to figure out how do we help deal with this? And the work from home program made sense. And it was another Galen Domer idea. And we brought in Jim Ware, who spent literally a year with us trying to figure out the best way to do it. And it's had a huge impact. We have, I think, 95% of our employees that are part of work from home. All of them love it. It's worked extremely well. If there's any issues associated with it, was teaching our managers how to work and manage people that aren't in front of you.
Yeah. How can I lead people I can't see?
That's right. And what I've learned about human nature is if you give people the responsibility, most of them will take it on. And most of them will work better than they would have if you didn't give them that responsibility.